Far from the sun, beyond stars, I hear their song. They're coming closer, talking without sound, calling me home. Calling out Mayday. Calling out Mayday. Save.
Greetings, illustrious Mujahideen warriors. I'm Patrick Smith. Today we're going to have a very interesting interview with Kal Molinet, who is in Virginia in the middle of the situation happening there. And before I introduce him, I want to do two quick notifications for you. Number one, I will be at the Consciousness and Psychedelics Conference as a skeptic, I must say, coming up on January 25th in Arlington, Texas. It should be interesting. I'm going to go there with an open mind and see what there is to learn and challenge my ideas and challenge other people's ideas, and we'll see how that goes. I think actually, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of this interview. Welcome to the show, Kal Molinet. I have actually been looking for a good excuse to have you on the show for literally years. You were one of the first YouTube channels that I watched when I guess was introduced to voluntarism and anarcho-capitalistic ideas. I loved your street interviews. A longtime follower, big fan. Kal Molinet, for those of you that don't know, is a voluntarist, anarcho-capitalist, street activist. He's the host of the Libertarian Crusaders show on his YouTube channel by the name Kal Molinet, and he is the wielder of the dankest Deus Vult memes you have ever seen. Welcome to the show, Kal. Good to have you.
Good to be back on here, Patrick. Yeah, I think, I guess I've been doing this since 2012. I guess that was like the golden age where all these videos and street activists started coming out, especially from the Free State Project, and branching off to where you are in Texas. And I hear you guys have a big group going on there as well. Saw photos of your guillotine act on the Capitol.
Yep.
I can't imagine that my name wouldn't be forgotten with my home state being all over the news in the past month with all the Boogaloo memes.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So we only have about half an hour with you. So for the people watching in the comments, if you have questions, like, get them in now so that you know if. So we can get answers in the time that we have. I want to just start with sort of a quick overview and update for the people that haven't been caught up on what's happening. What has happened? Let's go with what has happened recently and what is the current state today, and then maybe we can talk about what's happening in the next few days.
So a lot of people think that this event is a one-time thing. This is actually an event. This is an annual event that happens since 2012. It's Lobby Day, where people come out to persuade legislators to not be so communist. And so every year at this time, thousands go armed, right, with guns. You can go with guns inside the Capitol. You can go with guns on Capitol grounds, and it's never been a problem. And
it's an open carry state, right? Is it constitutional carry?
I don't know. I just know it's open carry. So
do you need a license to carry?
No, you don't need a license.
Oh, okay. So better than Texas.
You need a license for a concealed permit.
Oh, okay.
But which, it's not something I would do myself. I don't want to be on a registrar, right? And so this is an event that happens every year, and there's never been any problems. Long guns, short guns is the most secured place of all of Richmond when you have thousands of people there that are armed. And this is the first time that you have the biggest pushback ever with Northam, or the war of Northam aggression. And what he's attempting to do is push the spotlight away from his blackface or Klan face, because he doesn't remember whether he was in the Klan suit or he was the guy wearing blackface. And his attempt to kind of push the spotlight off of him is to double down on all these hardcore communist principles, to be anti-gun and to be anti-freedom of assembly, because that's kind of what's going on right now at the Capitol. So it wasn't until several days ago that they passed a new amendment to ban guns inside the Capitol, was then extended to a declaration of declaration of state of emergency, was banned guns on Capitol grounds, which is unconstitutional. All of this is unconstitutional. There was an attempt by a group to file a petition against it, but there is a word limit when you send out these petitions to the Supreme Court, and it exceeded the word limit, so it got pushed back. So there's people, yeah, silly, right? But there's people.
The magic spells were not cast in the correct format. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So it's not to say that the Supreme Court made a ruling on it, that this is constitutional. They just sent it back because it wasn't followed properly.
I didn't know this event happens every year, and it's always been open carry. There's always guns there. You're always sort of petitioning for the freedom of the people, as it were, there. And this year, the governor has lost his entire mind and decided to restrict people's ability to carry the weapons of self-defense. And so it's obviously blown up to national, international news. And has, like, the Boogaloo memes were around before when there was talk of the red flag laws, but man, Virginia has set it off.
I mean, you saw what happened in New York when that one guy was had these cops coming in to kind of bust down his door. Yep. And made a cry for help, and there was a lot of people that came out there. I think some of them got arrested. It wasn't that coordinated, but imagine that happening in Virginia, where we have probably 10 times as many guns than New York, very well coordinated. And anything like that happens, you'll have a Bundy Ranch situation all over the country. And I think that incident, the Bundy Ranch incident, is a good precursor of other things to come. If you come well armed at an event, they're not going to want to escalate it to a point where live on camera, you'll see agents and everyone else shooting at each other.
Right.
So at least we have that on our side, that they don't want to have that on camera, right?
When is the event specifically? Has it already happened?
No, it comes up
Monday.
On the 20th. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And
so they banned guns?
Yeah, they banned guns. Well, they banned more than guns. They banned knives, firecrackers, brass knuckles,
laser pointers,
pointers. Yeah, they didn't ban flamethrowers though, so that's I guess permissible. Yeah. They didn't ban. They didn't ban tars and feathers, so that's permissible.
Oh, right? They fucked up there. I hope somebody has that. So I mean, we have a lot of we have a disorder. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so the Capitol grounds, though, they're fencing it off, one entrance, 3 exits to get out, and it's fenced off, but you can't have a laser pointer outside of that fence and kind of shine it in, right?
No, I don't think that's how photons work. I don't know. We have a disproportionate number of Virginians in our Discord server, and I've always kind of wondered why that is. There's a lot of freedom-loving folk where you're from, and you have the. Are you still involved with Liberate RVA? You want to quickly talk about that?
That's our group that started in 2012. And just starting off as a voluntarian anarcho-capitalist group, anti-state group, and to get together and form a community instead of, I guess, realizing all these essays and philosophy and things and treatises that we read. And it always talks about, well, you could have this community in this group. You're like, well, why don't we just build that? And so it's gotten pretty big since. Come this Monday, we're going to be going in at least 25 armed and strong, and we're going to call ourselves the Ron Paul Militia. And my friend has already printed out a large portrait of Ron Paul that's going to be framed, and he's going to wear white gloves, and we're all going to go walk with it, kind of like how people do in the Middle East with their portraits of famous people.
That's awesome. We have Ron Paul prayer candles here in Dallas, so we might have to send you some. They're hilarious.
This is how we get on a show.
Nice. So, I mean, you answered one of my questions just then. Do you plan to defy the gun ban? Do many people plan to defy the gun ban and show up armed anyway? What's What's your plan for that?
Well, we're going armed. We're going to go towards the fence line outside of the Capitol grounds and assess the situation from there. Will there be other people who might go in armed? Possibly. I mean, this is unconstitutional. Actually, it states in the emergency declaration of written under emergency state that state of emergency that you can't do that. You can't ban guns. So really, it's a legal challenge at that point. So people.
So in the state constitution, it says that during states of emergency, the state is not allowed to ban guns?
Right. So technically,
wait. You mean their laws don't actually prevent them from doing that?
Right. So you just need somebody to go in there. If they get arrested, then you have a legal challenge, I imagine, right?
So you just need a brave soul that you hope doesn't get shot in the process of making that legal point.
If they get shot, they're going to get shot back. I can't imagine that not happening at all. You have not just Virginians coming in there. You have everyone from Texas. I got friends from Philadelphia, New York coming, and we're all converging and meeting up Monday morning before we roll out from muster.
For the people watching, I just want to pimp a video that I released last night. It's a red flag video. It describes, it's kind of in kind of jarring detail, describes what a no-knock raid would be like from a normal law-abiding, peaceful citizen that gets a red flag law called on them. It's an intense video, but it's really short, and I think it's really shareable and makes the point. So if you guys want to go check out the previous video on this channel, look for that. I think we're at this point where some people on the right, the people that have respected without question law enforcement and military, through seeing what's happening in Virginia, are starting to see that maybe there's a contradiction between the Gadsden flag and the blue line flag, so to speak. They're starting to see that when they stand up to tyrannical politicians, that the people that they end up facing off against are their heroic law enforcers. They're the ones pointing guns back at them. So this is one of the biggest teaching moments maybe of our entire generation. And I just wanted to point that out. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the only problem. Some group, I imagine, that it will show up are the people that are super pro-police. And at the same time, there are sheriffs that sometimes counter the police, and that the ones here in Virginia have offered to deputize everyone to fight back and resist. And I don't know if that grants them arrest powers as well, but or other capacities as being deputized. But that's, I think that's pretty neat.
I would have to design like a Gadsden blue line if I got deputized and just like make their brains explode.
If you were given the power to arrest with immunity, right?
Yeah.
Then you could arrest Northam, I imagine, right? Or I don't know what the laws on the books are for citizens arrest, but it would look a lot more legit under being deputized in the eyes of the law and everyone else, right?
That's true.
But yeah, I think this is a good show to see that. Interesting though, because I stopped by the Capitol today and talked to some of the cops there. One of them said that they the rules can change anytime, and they'll follow whatever rules that are passed. And they follow them very strictly. In that the new rule that came in said that no guns were allowed in the Capitol except if you're a legislator. Legislators come in with their staff, and their staff can't go in the normal way. They had to go wait outside in line and go through a metal detector with this new rule in place. So it took hours for everyone to get in. They even turned away Tim Kaine because he was trying to go through, through the regular way, but he had to instead wait in line with everyone else and say, sorry, these are the rules you guys passed, so this also applies to you. So Tim Kaine also had to wait in line for hours to get into the Capitol.
Wow. Let's get to a couple of these questions here. Daniel Westfall asks, I've been seeing pictures of some sort of metal fence around where the demonstration is being held. What's going on with that?
So they're trying to, people say it's a way to pin them in. It's a way for them to control who's going in, and that way they can search Supposedly, there's supposed only 10,000 people can get on those grounds and have to be unarmed and minus the entire list of things that you can't have on your person. And looking at that, though, right? 10,000 people to get through those grounds, and it starts between like 8 to 1 o'clock. So you've got like 5 hours. I think it's impossible to actually pat down everyone. Like it takes 30 seconds. For me, when I went in, it took like a whole minute. He's taking this, he's going through. I have to open my jacket. He's making I'm not carrying anything. So it took a whole minute for me to get through. And you have 10,000 people, right? If you add up the numbers, they got maybe 30 people that can do this, right? So it's virtually impossible then to have 10,000 people to get on those grounds. So it seems like another way that to kind of choke interest and demonstrators to kind of go out there and be against him. So that's all that is. This is some weird tactics. They've managed to get parking spaces to shut down too. So people will have a difficult time to find a place to park. And yeah, I think it's this is stuff like they wouldn't do for like a leftist demonstration, right? They'll open the gates.
Right.
They wouldn't shut down parking spaces. They wouldn't have these scanners and restrictions. But this is what you have when I don't know. It's people say that this is a result of Republicans not running in like 30 plus districts because Democrats won uncontested. But they won uncontested in the districts mostly up in Northern Virginia, where there's a great many of them that vote Democrat. So maybe a lot of them felt like it wasn't worth it. But there are other areas where they're not in Northern Virginia where Democrats won because nobody was there to challenge them. And
well, what a powerful message it would be, just ignore the political system, let the Democrats, elect themselves, and then show up and say, oh, you guys can play your political voting games all you want, but also you're not banning our guns, and we're not going to vote to tell you not to ban our guns. We're going to show up and order you not to ban our guns. And I also wonder if they realize that their little fenced off, cordoned off area could also be, used to keep them in by a large group of people that wanted to turn that into a prison until they got what they wanted out of the politics. I shouldn't be saying this on YouTube. Forget me.
Yeah, there is talks about maybe no one going into the Capitol grounds and just have our talks and speakers demonstration outside of the fence and kind of nullify that.
Phobes asks if they banned guillotines.
Right. Yeah.
T. Mike says, can someone explain how the Supreme Court magically granted authority to Congress to make any... I guess I don't understand that question. Let's see. Is Ben Song making it to VA? That's a good question. So Ben Song was an activist that we had local to Dallas that traveled to Hong Kong to actually participate in like the street activism going on in that country against the communists there. And so we did a couple interviews with him, and that's very interesting. I love that we're talking to all these activists, and what I really love is that people are actually doing things. They're actually standing up, and they're not just rolling over, because a lot of people just predicted that the general populace would just let this tyranny happen, the boil the frog slowly, so to speak. So I think a lot of eyes are on Virginia right now to see, if the frogs are going to stand up, so to speak, before it's too late.
Yeah, I would say that it's hopeless. I would say Virginia's lost, and it was hopeless if there weren't over 100 counties and cities declaring themselves a Second Amendment sanctuary, right? And if there wasn't such enormous, passionate rallies going on all over the state of that nature, then I'll say, Virginia's lost. Right, time to move out. But there is thousands here where I am, thousands at the outside the courthouse, thousands outside the council's city chambers all over here in Richmond. And so I think that's a good sign of things to come. I think that'll be the last time that Democrats hold that kind of strong majority political power in Virginia for a long time. For the most part, nobody really wants to vote. Nobody really wants to be bothered by it. But they've already awakened a bear, right? They've awakened the anger and the wrath of Virginians here. And most of the problems of these people that are anti-Virginians are coming from Northern Virginia, right next to D.C., right? D.C. sponsors the welfare for a great many people, so they come out there to live next to the Capitol. And not surprisingly, they're going to vote anti-gun and very pro-communist measures. So that's really where the source of all these problems are coming from Northern Virginia, from outside of DC. It's not a Virginian, populist interest or part. That's everything that Northam is advocating for goes against our culture, or goes against being a Virginian. I think being a Virginian should mean something, and it shouldn't be that easy just to be here in Virginia. I think to be a Virginian, you should own a gun. I think that's to be like the number one thing. Want to establish residency, own a gun. You have to buy a gun. If you don't, then move to California, right? And or Maryland. Maryland's not that great, or New York as well. But yeah, there's attempts to want to Californianize Virginia, and hopefully
you're surrounded by like just a gold mine of teaching moments. You've got a lot of people that are in a point where they could very easily be made to realize that, the Constitution, all the constitutions in the world, all the Second Amendments in the world literally have done nothing, and have, as Spooner says, the Constitution has either enabled a government such as this, or has been utterly powerless to prevent it. This is the teaching moment. This is, I'm excited for you guys, and I'm going to watch every bit of content that you put out. I'm assuming you guys are going to be live streaming or putting out some video or something like that of your protests.
Yeah, we'll be there. I got a camera person with me. We're going in 20 strong, and we're going to record interviews. We're going to record whatever happens out there. We'll see if we can do it live. Sometimes there's a problem when you have 50,000 people with their connections and mobile devices out there. I just found got info that Alex Jones is already in Richmond. He's with what he calls the War Machine. And
his armored vehicle. We've seen it down here in Dallas. Yeah.
So he'll be in town. So it'll be quite a show. And yeah, I think this Virginia will pave the way for what a pushback against gun control looks like, hopefully for the rest of the country that follows and sees us as a platform to push back.
Okay, so we have about 8 minutes left. I want to go through some of the rumors that we've heard of things that could potentially go sideways. Like, I want to start with Antifa and the commies. There's rumors going around that, the Antifa is like allying with the Patriots, #Patriots, against Northam. Do you know anything about that? Is that true? It seems like that could go sideways really fast.
I don't think they're that big of a deal. I think it's kind of like Richard Spencer, who writes something and all of a sudden they blast it all over the media because they need something sensational. The ones around here are just like maybe 10 people. And whenever they see something they don't like, they don't really protest or engage in anything. They just have somebody sneak in and take a picture and then, share with their friends and they'll say, look, this person was here or there. So it's not something I'm concerned about. I think it's just something to kind of drive up, Vice is the one that kind of pushed that out there too. So, it drives people to talk and drives people to be super worried about things that I don't think are going to happen.
The spin that you've seen from Vice and Vox on what's happening up there is hilarious. I mean, man, it's good. What about
they're pretty good. They're pretty good at that.
What about racist groups? This is the left media. All this is the left is talking about Antifa. The left media is talking about racists being like arrested. There's been arrests in advance of the event up there. Do you know anything about that? Is there a lot of white nationalist organizations joining in this march, or is that literally all just garbage?
I'm sure some will try to make it out there, but it's not like they're trying to paint this something similar to the Charlottesville incident. But that took months for people to get together, people who have never met each other. It's a very disorganized group. It's not when you add up the numbers, they're like less than 1%. It's not something myself or for anyone to worry about. Again, it's one of those things that the media is just going to paint everyone to be racist anyways. Everyone at this rally, they're going to say they're racist, right? So it's not something, I think it's like a word that's kind of lost its meaning anyways, right? They think everything is racist now. But you find like when Trump recently talked about Virginia and in support of this rally, while also, jabbing the Democrats. So, I don't know, like if he's really that invested in it or not, but, they'll find then that as a way to kind of tie Trump into like, Nazis coming here and things like that to kind of blow this all over proportion and kind of smear what's going on here. But yeah, it's not I don't think it's a big deal. I think, again, my main concern are just the people that praise cops, and that's really it.
Yeah.
There's people who are like really upset against they call them Trump tarts, for example, but you wouldn't have all these gun rallies going across Virginia without these conservatives, right? I'm fine with conservatives. It's not I mean, it's when you add it all up, it's a great of the people that are coming out here are going to be conservatives, right? It's not like they kind of go hand in hand with guns. So yeah, the only people that I'm concerned about or have any issues with will be the ones that are licking boots, so to speak.
Is it what's the demographic like? Is it mostly liberal in Virginia?
No, Virginia is overwhelmingly conservative.
Okay, I didn't know. I haven't looked at the map.
Oh yeah, you'll find some liberal populations in some of the big cities. Like you'll find some here in Richmond, Norfolk. The rest of them are just up in Northern Virginia, next to DC. And so you have all these congressional voting districts, and then you have like 40 of them all packed together up in Northern Virginia. And so all of them just kind of converge and just control the rest of Virginia.
Gerrymandering for the win, right?
Right. So people are talking about, why don't we just like slice that part off and give it to DC, or the rest of Virginia just become West Virginia, right? There's West Virginia has come out with talks about, hey, in our Constitution, we can allow counties to come and join us. And so we can have Franklin County, we can have other Virginia counties that love guns to be part of West Virginia. And it's not a bad song, Country Roads and all, you know?
So last call for questions in the comments. We only have a few minutes left with Kal. He's got something he's got to get to. And so while we're waiting for those comments, my last question for you is kind of, what are your predictions? What do you think is going to come out of the event on Monday? What do you think is going to end up happening with the legislature? Like, what's your feeling?
This will be the last time that Democrats have any majority political power in Virginia for a very long time. At the very least, you'll have maybe a standoff in which the cops don't know what to do because they don't want to get shot. And these means kind of help spice things up too, but people have already a good idea of what happened at the Bunning Ranch. Might be a similar situation that happens here. And hopefully nothing happens. You know, we want to try to find a peaceful way to go about doing this. Even though it's a democracy, which enslaves everyone and everyone becomes each other's masters, it has done an interesting way of trying to transfer power peacefully to other people instead of rightfully taking it. But if that doesn't work, maybe having to take it back ourselves is something we're going to have to do. And maybe we're just going to have to be the America that people of Hong Kong think we are.
Ooh, powerful words, sir. Very powerful words. Okay, well, I think I don't see any questions in the comments, so I think there's not a better statement to end it on than what you just said. I appreciate your bravery and your activism and everything you've done towards liberty for years now. So you're welcome on the show anytime. In fact, I hope to have you back maybe after this so that we can kind of talk about what actually went down, and also we have a lot of streaming infrastructure. So if you do end up needing to stream and you want to put some infrastructure behind it, we can definitely help you with that too. So, that's
pretty cool. Yeah, that is something we're interested in. I'm heading out to a pro-life event right after this.
Really?
Yeah. With that, God bless Virginia and her patriots. Deus Volt.
What did you say? You're going to be the Americans that Hong Kong thinks we are.
Yeah.
We'll just end it right there, folks. Guys, thanks for watching. Kal, thanks for being on the show today. We'll talk to you again soon.